Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome to another episode of Cornerstone Quick Tips. My name is Josh Donnelly, and in today's episode, we are going to take a look at how to easily apply reusable gradients to your text in your builds. And I promise you, we are going to keep things super simple. So as you can see here, I already have sort of a demo built out for what this could look like, but we are going to go ahead and set this up from scratch. So without further ado, let's dive in. So here we are inside the Cornerstone Builder. We have a simple headline set up here with our intro text, and then we have some body text underneath that here. But we want this to have sort of that modern look with a gradient inside of the text. And obviously this is opinionated. You could put whatever kind of gradient you want in here. I'm going kind of extreme just so that we can kind of play around with it and see how it works. And we're actually going to set up a couple of gradients here so we can see how you could alternate easily between them. So what we're going to do is first create our gradient. And the way we're going to do that is by jumping out to this nifty little tool, which is cssgradient.io. Now, this is a very simple tool for setting up gradients, and it renders the CSS right here for you. So you can kind of see what you want that gradient to look like. You can adjust your stops where you want certain colors to start and end. If I wanted this sort of purplish blue here to be a little more green, I could select that middle one, and then I can change the color here. I'm going to go back to something a little more in that purple hue, something like this here, maybe a little more purple. There we go, something like that there. I think that's looking pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and grab this CSS, and then we'll jump back into Cornerstone here. So to make this reusable throughout our site, we are going to add this to our global CSS, and then we'll talk about how we can tap into that on a case-by-case basis. So we're going to jump down to our custom code and open up the global CSS editor. Now, inside of this editor, we are going to paste the CSS that we copied to our clipboard from cssgradient.io. Now, right off the bat, it's not doing a whole lot of anything, and it's probably throwing a whole bunch of errors, and that's because we have not properly assigned this to a class. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit enter on the keyboard here, and starting on line 1, I'm going to add a period. That's starting my class here, and then I'm going to add something arbitrary, but that I can remember to tap into. So I'm going to do CS for Cornerstone dash text dash gradient, and because I'm going to have a few of these, maybe I'll just call this gradient dash 1, right? And then I want this to be easily applied to different text in my headlines. I don't want to have to go in and add a specific class here and there. So I'm actually going to use a little trick here that I've started using on a lot of my builds, which is simply adding a space and typing in strong. Now, strong is automatically applied when you bold something. And so this is going to apply to bold text in our headline. And then we'll do an open curly bracket. And then we'll come down to the very bottom of all of this CSS. We'll go to line 7 here and we'll add a closing curly bracket. And things are coming together quite nicely here. Let's go ahead and create our second gradient. So we're just going to come down to line 9 here, and we'll do another one of these following the same format. We'll do CS text gradient 2 strong, open our brackets, and now inside of these brackets, let's go ahead and create another gradient. Maybe this one, we want it to be a little bit simpler, so maybe it's 2 colors, and let's just go, I don't know, we'll go with some extremes here. We'll make the purple like this yellow color, sort of a sunburst. I think that's looking pretty good. We'll grab this, we'll copy it to our clipboard, come back over here, and we'll paste that into gradient 2. And then just for kicks and giggles, let's go ahead and do this one more time. We'll do CS text gradient 3 strong, come down here, and this time we are going to grab our radial gradient. So now it's radial instead of linear. And in this one, we'll start with sort of a blue in the middle, and then on the outskirts here, maybe we go to some sort of fuchsia, something like this here. Go ahead and copy that to our clipboard, jump over here, and paste that in. So now we have 3 classes. We have CS text gradient 3, text gradient 2, and text gradient 1. So we'll go ahead and close this out. And now we'll come into our headline. We'll jump over to customize, and we'll go ahead and type this in. We'll do CS text gradient 1. Now initially, nothing happens, and that's because we made sure to specify that this only applies to strong. So now we'll come in here to where we have Cornerstone Builder. Let's go ahead and highlight both of those, and I'm simply going to click bold. And as soon as I do that, it creates a gradient here. But you'll notice this gradient is not being applied properly. It's being applied to the background. And that is because we need to add our background clip and text fill color. So let's go ahead and jump back into our custom code here. We'll go ahead and just make this a little bit larger so we can see what's going on here. And then we'll jump in here and we're going to type in dash WebKit dash background dash clip text. Then we want WebKit dash text dash fill dash color, and we want to set the color to transparent. And there we go. Now let's go ahead and just copy those two lines. So boom, and we'll take those down here and paste them in. And obviously we can get into formatting this nicely, but I think that's looking pretty good. And we'll paste it in here as well. So now with all three of those having their background clip text and text fill color transparent, we should be in good shape. And you'll notice immediately this is looking pretty awesome. Now, if I jump down here into section 2 where I have a fresh one of these set up, I can come in here, I can click customize, I can type in CS text gradient 2, and as soon as I do that, I could highlight cornerstone, click bold, and now we're leveraging our second gradient. If you wanted to see how this is working, you can click on the headline and open up your content here, and you'll see where that strong is applied to cornerstone, and we are targeting that. Now, if you didn't want to use strong, I find it really easy because I can just jump through and make this one, doing this with the keyboard shortcut. I can just go through and do these nice and quickly. I could come back up here. I don't have to think about going into the content editor and adding specific classes around things. I can just hit bold on the keyboard and it's easily repeatable. But if you wanted to, you could simply leave this as just the class. So we could get rid of strong here, which if we go back to number 1, you'll notice it applies to everything. If you wanted a specific word, then you could get rid of it on the entire headline here. Then we'd come into the content here, and where we have Cornerstone Builder, we would simply click, we would add span, class, equals, quote, our class that we're using, end quote, close out that span, and then we want to close out the entire span after builder like this, and now we see that it is applying right there. But again, that's a little bit more effort because you need to make sure you go in and you type in that HTML and then you manage these on a case-by-case basis, which is why I love opting for adding strong in here, because I can very easily come in, select the headline, add our class, CS, text, gradient, 1, and select Cornerstone and click bold. Nice and easy. Let's go ahead and do this one more time on our last one here just to show the reusability. We'll come in here, we'll type in CS text gradient 3, and now all I have to do is click on Cornerstone and highlight it, and there's our radial gradient with the tealish color in the middle and the fuchsia on the edges there. And if I want to add it to Builder, the nice thing is, look at this E here. Right now, our radial gradient ends on the E. And if I add Builder in here separately, so I'm going to click on just Builder and bold that as well, you'll notice that the gradient starts over here on the B and ends on the R. But what if I wanted that gradient to flow through both of these equally so that the gradient is dispersed among the two words? Super simple. I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to remove all the bold styling and now add it back in with all of the words that I want part of that gradient highlighted. We'll go ahead and click on bold, and now you'll notice that E is no longer fuchsia because it's stretching out our radial gradient. So we have the R and the period and the C and the O in the fuchsia, and then we have our middle color right here. So a nice and repeatable way to leverage our gradients. Now, this isn't strictly reserved for headlines. This can be used in any text on your site. We could come into body text here and we could add our class. Let's do CS text gradient 3, and now inside our body text we could highlight this word here and we could highlight this word here, and it will automatically style those with our gradient. Now, I'm specifically using this with gradients, but that trick with strong is also a nice way to manage colors that you might have, accent colors or things like that. Let's say we had a CS text accent color and strong, and then we come in here and that color is, let's say it's color pink. So now we've created the CS text accent color class, and it will make anything that is bold pink, right? So we're going to scroll down to section 4. We're going to click on our headline. We'll go into customize and we'll add that class CS text accent color. Now, anywhere I want to, I could have an accent color where this is now pink. And if I wanted to change that out throughout my site, I simply come into here, and where I have pink, I could add hot pink, right? And now we get this nice bold hot pink here, and that's looking pretty good, and it's reusable, and it's easily changeable. As always, I hope you guys find these videos useful, and I will see you guys in the next video. Happy building!